Hello everyone, my name is Guilherme, and in this video is a little bit of a weird one because I'd like to review my first game engine. And just for instance, this is the engine. It's open here. It's a Python, completely Python-based game engine that I wrote when I was like a kid or a teenager, and I don't know, like 13, 14 years old, something like that. And I knew nothing about programming, like nothing. I have no idea. When I say nothing, I'm saying literally nothing. No idea what a class was, what file organization, project organization. I knew some basics about Python because I always used Blender Game Engine. Back in that day, I was using like Blender 2.49, and it was programmable in Python, and I knew some basics. That was enough for me to make my own engine. Actually, my attempt to make my own engine. So this is the editor. I will do an overview on the features, and quick disclaimer, I have no idea how to use it anymore. I'll try to remember here how to use that. There's some cool features, like, believe it or not, visual scripting in this thing. Yes, but I don't know if it works well. But I'm gonna do a review. We're gonna try some stuff here, and I think I can't delete this thing anymore. Anyways, we're gonna have to restart the game. And then we're gonna jump to the scripts. I added this script some years ago into my GitHub, so I will never lose this source because it's like a cool memory. And you know, GitHub is a place where you put weird projects, right? But anyways, and if you just arrived to this channel, I do have a lot of content related to game engine development, to game development, to Blender. So I am a game developer. I've been creating games for the past like 10 years or something like that. And I've been teaching Blender for a long time ago as well. And I've also creating a game engine. So if you go ahead a video, before this one, you can see my entire game engine. It's a C++, modern, based, and organized, and working, I hope, game engine that you can follow the development and hopefully test it very soon. And I also have a Discord server, so if you want to chat or chill out and talk about game engine development, talk about games, talking about programming and stuff like that, or old projects like this one, feel free to join. I'll leave the link in the description. So let me close this engine and open it again. It's a single file. This is a spoiler to the code review that I do very soon, but that's weird. That's why I'm using Python to launch this engine. And this is an editor, and this is something interesting because it took me a lot of time to figure out that an engine and an editor is two different stuff. I mean, in my mind, because when you open Unity, when you open Blender, Unreal, Godot, and so on, you have an editor right in front of you. So in my mind, that made sense to that like a game engine is an editor and there's no distinction between them. But anyways, so I can select an object and I think that I can move. This is me moving the object or the camera, I have no idea. Anyways, it's running at 16 frames per second here. Oh my god. And I have file, run, stop. I have no idea what that options means, but anyways. And if I remember correctly, I can have a texture material. Let me load a new material and it will open like a file explorer that I can select a texture. Let me select, I don't know, this one. It's a let me try to find a pixel art texture, to be honest, because I don't know, just feels better. But I don't think I have a pixel art texture here. Don't think so. Anyways, RPG icons. No, it's not pixel art. I do have pixel art, but I'm just not sure where. Oh, platform kit, isometric. Yay, that's amazing. Okay, so let me try to build some cool stuff here using this. I don't know. I use this stuff. Let me open. So right now, I think I have my texture here, and I need to go to the object panel in the material, and I can select my block. Oh my God, that's technology. So I can move it. Can I duplicate this object? There's no right click. Shift D, maybe, no. Okay, I can't duplicate this, obviously. Let me change the background color. Again, technology, take a look at that. Maybe this, okay. Let me put a little bit happier color here. Okay. Man, that's so weird. Okay, and let me create a new object, like test. I don't know if I can handle multiple objects. Oh, there's no alpha actually. I can't define alpha objects clearly. That's weird, that's bad actually. But anyways, let me create this object. Let me open a new material here. Oh, that's a material. I'm not sure. Anyways, it's weird. I remember that I have like a shortcut to change the scale. I'm not sure. 128 and 200. Okay. But unfortunately, there's no alpha blending. I can change the render layer, so I'm assuming that an object in a higher render layer will be rendered. Oops! Take a look at that. I can't delete. If I press the backspace, it will add like an actual character here. But anyways, so I think it's not possible, but I remember that it was possible to add alpha stuff. I just don't know how. I don't remember. Anyways, so I have max first person wireframe. Oh, if I set 1 to the wireframe, it will actually show the quad. And how do I get rid of it? Okay, I need to delete. There's no, I know, and I can rotate. That's impressive because many games. Oh, of course I can't rotate. This rotation does not serve for nothing. I'm trying to figure out the like dynamic here. I'll make this dynamic false. I have to manually type if it's true or false. But I think that if I click in run, no, it will make that thing work. I don't know how to make physics work here. Actually, I don't know nothing. Okay. Anyways, I have some classes, and a cool thing about this is that I can move my objects using visual scripting. So if I click here, right click, verify key event, I have no idea the key. I think it's just W. Let's try that. Confirm end. And this is basically, this visual scripting stuff here is basically, I can't not, okay. This is basically, let me move this object. Move object. And I think this is per object. No, it's not per object. I think I need to type the object name here first, and then if I want X or Y, I have no idea. But by the way, this is basically Blender logic bricks, okay? But with not a fixed stuff, because in my mind, what made Blender logic bricks bad, so this is basically Blender logic bricks, again, this thing, I can connect. Except that in my engine, in theory, in my mind when I was a kid, the fact that it's not like limited to a grid like Blender does will improve a lot my life. And anyways, I have no idea. Test, let me try to move this object like 0. Good to know that tab doesn't work. And 1 maybe. So if I click run, W of course does not work. I have no idea how to make this thing work. And I think I crashed the engine. Yes, I crashed. Well, I tried at least. At least I tried to make this thing work, but it does not. So I think that's everything. Oh no, I closed everything. Okay, I opened it again. All right, so that was the engine. I'm not sure if I will take a look at that. There's a bunch of debug stuff going on while I was doing stuff. Oh, I can actually it's lower case. Let me try that again with a lowercase w. I think that will work. Oh my god, let me select this object. Visual scripting key event w with lowercase confirm, and if I press w, action move. Man, I have no idea how to add these variables here. Let me make like 0 and 1. Maybe. Let me run the game. If I press W, of course it will not gonna work. Oh, take a look at that. The editor is weird as fuck. 1. So I think that block. I'm gonna try this instead. Run. Nope. And one last try because I wrote the wrong number. Run. No, it's not working. I don't remember how to make that thing works. But I remember that it used to work back in that day. I just don't know how to make that thing happen. But anyways, let me close it and let's start. Oh, there's a bunch of debug stuff. What? A bunch of stuff. Anyways, let me go and jump to the code review. And again, this is a very bad code, a very poor. And you can start by looking at this file and project organization. I mean, there's no Python and file organization here. I have 2 Python files. I have the UD player. And what is the UD player? The UD player, in my mind, was a standalone thing that you will use to export the game and do stuff. But there's nothing here, as you can see. It's a very poor Pygame game loop. Very poor here, nothing going on. And this is based in Blender again, because Blender Game Engine, for those who don't know, there's a separate runtime file called Blender Player that it's used to export the game. So in my mind, that was the right way to do it, and it's actually a good way to do it, but I had no idea what I was doing, and I had no idea how to create libraries, how to import my own script. That's why everything is held together in a single Python script, because that may be obvious today. I mean, let me open Notepad. Where's Notepad? Okay. That may be obvious today that you create like the engine.py folder file, or you can actually create a new folder called engine, and inside this folder you can create like init .py, and you can put a bunch of stuff here, and then in your actual project you can basically, I mean, here in the root you can game.py, and inside the game.py you can just import engine, and it will import this entire folder because of the init. This is something very basics, or I can even do like engine.py directly here and import it to the game. This is basic, but again, I had no idea how to do that back in that day. So that's why I have UD Engine 2. UD stands for Uniday, because back in that day when I was like a kid, I knew that my company would call Uniday Studio. Don't ask me why, how, but I knew that, and today it's an actual company with employees and so on. But anyways, that time I knew it. So it's UD Engine 2, and it's a single file. Again, man, white spaces in a Python script name. I have no idea how I would import that like today in a project. But anyways, and it's a huge single file, almost 2,000 lines of code. So very not ideal and very not organized anyways. But let's start the code review, and I will be very, I'll try to be very, very bad here in this code review. I mean, very mad at myself in that moment. And hopefully you will learn something new. If you're a beginner, if you're starting, you don't make the mistake. So, and the first mistake that I'd say is, man, learn the basics. Learn how to create proper files. Learn how to import another file into your project. And create small files, because a huge file like that, even today, even for my standards, it's a very bad thing. If you create a new file, especially in Python or C++, it doesn't matter, try to make it as short as possible, like 100 lines of code, 200 lines of code. That's an average, that's ideal. If your file is too big, it means that the file is doing many things and it will become a nightmare to maintain later on. Okay, so that's the first thing that I'd recommend if you're starting, as I was back in that day. That's the first advice that I'd like to send to myself. Learn how to create different files. That you're gonna make a huge difference in your life. Okay, and learn classes, because if you see, this entire project here does not have a single class, because at that moment I had no idea what is that. Okay, I had no idea. This for me, back in that day, was like Klingon. This was not something that I would understand. That's why this huge file does not have a single class, because I had no idea again. But let's go ahead and move to this. This is a bunch of macros. This is again something wrong, because a macro had no naming convention back in that day. So I was writing the macros as global, regular, normal variables, and you can see here my lack of naming conventions, because take a look at that, man. I was using camel case here, like screen, and capital B, G, and right here I was using underscore. That's very bad. There's not a problem if you prefer to use camel case, like camel case naming, or if you prefer like underline naming. There's not a problem. As soon as you keep consistency across your code, do not mix them together. Okay, this is very bad for organization. And again, the macros here, that is basically a global variable that you define to store a specific library specific stuff. There's not a problem on using it as soon as you identify it as a macro. For example, today it's very common to use capital letters to do this, like color dark 1. That may be a better alternative for what I was doing here. Okay, plot twist, this is my actual color. Okay, anyways. But this is bad to use like macros that way, because you don't know if this is an actual variable that you want to change during the engine, during the process, or if this is a fixed const variable, because especially in Python that you can't define a const thing, or you can use like literally #define to do this kind of stuff. There is a C++ or a C macro. You need to figure out, you need to specify that this is a macro, okay? Again, nothing is wrong with having macros in your code, but as soon as you specify that, for example, border and pad size, now I have no idea if this is a macro or not, okay? Now I'm initializing code here. This is already very, very, very bad. It's in the middle of the code. I mean, there's nothing here. It's like, what? In the middle of my code, I'm initializing Tkinter here, which is a Python library to make the interface. And you can see here, the engine, the header, and a bunch of commented out code. This is bad again. So do not initialize stuff in the middle of your code, right? Like this, because it's gonna be hard to track to figure out what is going on to the code. Okay, so I have a bunch of commented out code here. Commented out code is again another bad stuff. Do not keep commented out code in your project. It's better to just like fix what you have to fix, or replace or remove it and leave it empty. Do not leave commented out code. It's bad anyways. So this is the way that I was trying to organize my stuff back in that day, because I had no idea how to write different files. Okay, so that was the way. Here I'm initializing stuff again, and this is now I'm not gonna go ahead and read line by line because there's a lot of lines here, but this is something that I'd like to discuss about. Three things basically here. The first thing is take a look at the size of this line. There's a bunch of stuff here going on, and this line is huge, and this is not something that you want in your project. I mean, it's better. Oops, I did wrong shortcut. Anyways, it's better to have, like, you paste this. This is 171 lines, columns in your code. It's important to try to keep it not that huge. There's a bunch of commented out code here as well that it's not necessary, but you can do that in Python. You can divide the line into different you can divide the call into different lines, and it's gonna get a little bit more organized this way and easier to understand and figure out what is going on. So that's a better practice than do this thing. And another thing here, the second thing, again, I'm initializing stuff globally here, and I'm not even using function. This part here of the code, I'm basically creating the window, the panels inside the editor. So if you go ahead, let me actually open the editor again. You can see that I have partitions and stuff like that. I'm initializing those partitions right now, and globally I have no method, no specific functions to do that. In other words, if I wanted to create another partition, I will have to duplicate the code, as I am already doing here. So I have the top and the down, and this is, you can see that this top and this down part is a duplicated code. I could easily add a function that does that for me, so there's no need to make this crap here, this bad stuff. I mean, I can select this, and let me, for example, def new pen, I don't know, and I can make main, I can make PD, main.add PD, and I can return the PD if I want. So I don't even remember what is this, by the way, but by simply doing that, I can do like as many stuff as I want. Like here I am creating a bunch of it, no problem at all, in a very simple way. I don't need to duplicate the code as I'm doing right here. And by the way, I have like a bunch of background styling and stuff like that, that if I want to change the color of the background, I'm gonna have to go ahead and search my entire code to every place that I'm doing this thing, because there's duplicated code right now. And if I had a function to do that, I could simply change right here and it will fix my problem. So a bunch of duplicated code, and this leads to another thing that I'd like to talk here, is that I'm directly using Tkinter functions, methods, and classes. This is bad because, again, if someday I don't want to use Tkinter anymore, I want to use another library, or I figure out a better way of doing the same thing, like opening a menu, opening a pen window. If I figure out a better way, I will have to again go ahead and change my entire code base to do the same thing, and that's very, very, very bad. For example, in my engine, my game engine, I do have a recent video about it. It's a it's a huge engine that I have. And yes, I had to open my game engine. This is my actual game engine that I'm writing today. It's a huge engine, as you can see, and I opened it exactly so we can see all the variables, all the properties and stuff like that. Take a look at that. There's a bunch of stuff everywhere. And imagine that I want to change how something works here, like this color, this sky color here. You can see that I have the title and the menu on the right, and the same for everything else. What if I want to change? What if I want to make the title on the right and the actual like slider and stuff like that on the left? I will have to go ahead and change my entire game engine. That's very bad. That's not very ideal. So what is the right thing to do? Let me close Visual Studio here because I opened it just to explain to you. In my engine, for example, I'm using IMGUI. And if I want to create like a text in IMGUI, I can do this. So my text, stuff like that. But I'm directly using IMGUI here in my game engine. Oops, don't want to save. A better alternative is like to create a void my text. Of course, you can write something better. And I can have a constant cd string, text, and inside my text, I can call this stuff with my text here. Okay, language C++, please. Okay, so it's better to have these. So instead of directly calling IMGUI text, I can literally call my text, and internally it will call IMGUI text. So that's why that's a good thing, because if someday I don't want to have IMGUI text, I want to make another thing before, like I want to make an icon, so add icon, stuff like that. Well, I can, and it will gonna be changed. It will gonna change everywhere in the code that uses my text. So that's a good thing, and this is called an abstraction layer. You need to add as much as you can. I mean, sometimes it's just not convenient to add an abstraction layer, but for this, like for UI stuff, instead of directly using Tkinter, or IMGUI, it was better to use an abstraction layer so I can call my stuff instead of calling Tkinter. So again, a bunch of default stuff. This is like game engine editor mechanics. This is, I don't remember honestly. So it looks like I was using like a Python dictionary to store my stuff. Again, I had no idea what was a class. This thing could be a class with much more options and stuff like that instead of a Python dictionary. So if you see here, I have like an empty list and I create a default scene and append another one. The problem with that is like I need to know the contract. I need to know what do I need to add in my default scene, what is the variables and stuff like that. If it was a class, and by the way, I could easily make this class export later on. But if that thing was a class, a Python class, it will be much easier to like add name, stuff like that, self.objects, stuff like that, self.bg, background. I'm not gonna write stuff here, but you get the point. This could be a class instead of a weird list, a weird dictionary, and this class could be like, could have like a get JSON file and stuff like that that are gonna return a JSON or a Python dict, get dict, stuff like that. So that's useful to save and load serialize the class on disk. But anyways, that's bad. And I have the same problem with the objects here. No, that's a lot of problems because, well, this basically could be classes. And I have a bunch of global stuff, a bunch of methods. This is a method that we used to have in Blender Game Engine, and we do have this in Blender Game Engine, and I was trying to basically copy this stuff, and it's doing a bunch of weird stuff, bunch of global. Anyways, so that's bad, not good. Everything in this code is not good. Right here, I was trying to basically grab some color. I don't even understand what is going on. See, that's complicated. So for take a look at that. This is a problem. C. What is the C? What is a variable? So it's important to have good variable naming so you can understand. What is get color HTML? Start tight on C. What is that? I have no idea what that thing does, and you have to like read this for hours to figure that out. So it's important to have like consistent naming and stuff like that. Anyways, again, a bunch of, take a look at that, a bunch of duplicated code. This is like, and I have like magic numbers all the way in here. I have no idea, I have no clue what does magic numbers serves for. And again, bunch of duplicated code. This is all, take a look at that. Let me select that. So scene in game tab. So I'm creating basically by hand by Ctrl C and Ctrl V. And again, I already said that it was better to just create a method, a function to do that. But take a look at that. How many duplicated code I have? Like what? This is huge. It could be replaced by, I don't know, 5 lines of code. Anyways. So I have stuff to load materials, but the scene is global as well. Again, it could be like a scene method because it uses the scene apparently. The same thing for the material remove. It could be a scene method instead of just something like that, like def load material and a bunch of args. And I can have a def remove material and again a bunch of args. That's better than have this global stuff styling. It's better to have like object oriented stuff. Show preview again. This is weird. I have no idea what this thing is doing. It's probably writing stuff, showing stuff in the UI. Again, more and more that scene. And again, take a look at my lack of naming convention. This is using underline. This is again using camel case. I'm starting the function with camel with a capital letter right now, and then somewhere else I will be starting another function without the capital. Again, a bunch of duplicated code. So that's why, take a look at that. That's why this code is huge, because it does have a bunch of duplicated code. That's very bad. Take a look at that. I'm importing Tekinter. I'm importing something in the middle of the code. You should always import everything that you need in the header of your file, like here in the first lines. It's much more convenient and better to organize the stuff. Do not do this. Do not import stuff in the middle of nowhere. And have object invo sync. I have no idea what this thing does. And again, take a look at that. I'm randomly, I have an option, I have a function to grab the current scene, and still I'm accessing it by hand, which is weird. I'm doing a bunch of weird stuff, low level and high level makes it, I have no idea basically what many things does. Take a look at that. Now I'm using underline naming and camel case capitals naming. Again, a bunch of global stuff that is very bad. So I'm basically initializing stuff and creating functions as I need them. That's very bad. I have like logic bricks here, logic nodes. Again, take a look at that. Bad naming convention, no naming convention at all. More bad naming convention, more global variables. It's a pain. It's hard to even figure out. I remember that when I was writing this engine, I had a bunch of problems because of my brain could not even think on how to make that thing works. And now I know why, because I'm using a bunch of global variables and a bunch of functions that does not make any sense at all. So it will be better to just create a class for the node again. Move it. Basically, this video in a nutshell is create a naming convention, separate stuff into different files, move everything to object-oriented code. Take a look at that, because I'm not using object-oriented code and I'm not using like classes and inheritance. Take a look at this huge if-elif to identify the type. If I was using like a base class for the node and then implementing this class into child classes, that thing would not exist, and you make everything much easier and more organized to work with. Oh my god, drawing routines here. I'm tired of reading this code, to be honest. So I have like a date node and a bunch of UI related stuff in the middle of my node that what I was supposed to use to the game logic, not UI. So everything, I'm again creating stuff here, formatting strings here on the fly, doing a bunch of exec and evolve that is very dangerous in Python. Like what I was doing here? Take a look at that. Man, this is weird. But anyways, there's a bunch of weird and nasty code here. Same problems that I already explained it. And let me go ahead to the end, because at this point I don't even know what is going on here anymore. So in the end, I remember that I have a main loop with a bunch of ticks and stuff like that, like low level and high level stuff in the middle. That thing could be like a simply class, like an app class, like class app, and I could have, let me pass this, actually I could have a def run, and inside this run I could have game loop is equal to true while game loop, and I can do blah blah blah. Okay, and this class could be like, could initialize the window. That could be another class that does the tkinter and Python pygame stuff. I don't know, but anyways, this is weird, this is bad. There's a huge while loop here that I don't even understand what is going on. That's bad, it's way bad. And I'm trying to see here what else I have. Well, again, it's a bunch of duplicated code, a bunch of global variables. I had no idea what was class and file and project organization. That's why this engine is, it's so a nightmare. And the problem with that is, like, today, if I wanted to change this engine, of course I don't want because it's bad, but if I wanted to, I would have a hard time trying to figure out what everything is doing. I mean, it's complicated, okay? So do not do that. Separate your file, your project into different files and make a better organization than I did, okay? But anyways, this is like the code review, my own code review. So I'm not judging anyone here. I'm judging and blaming myself, except that I was like a kid or a teenager, I don't remember, but it was a while ago. And if you like this kind of content, make sure you leave your comment and join the Discord server, because we are gonna discuss a lot more stuff. I'm gonna share more, and of course I'm gonna share my game engine, my actual good game engine related stuff here. And I hope you enjoyed it, and again, I see you in the next video.